So there's a book which somebody gives him, and that book is called The Three Pillars of Zen. Now he reads this book. He's a scholar, he's an economics gentleman, goes deeper into this book, leaves everything, now starts traveling, starts meditating with this thought that there is something which life is planned. As long as we agree to that plan, as long as we are ready to surrender. Such a pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk about this book called The Surrender Experiment. There's always a story why somebody picks up a book. So I had bought this book, I read it halfway. My wife, present here, she read it full. But this book had to come back again in my life, and thank you so much, Mohit, for this platform and for this opportunity. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been just going through this book. So let's begin. I'm talking about this author. His name is Michael A. Singer, lovingly called Mikey. So he's an American guy, lives in Florida. This book is his memoir. It's a 40 years of his life, which is penned up. Surrender is a word, right? If I ask you a word surrender, whether it's positive or negative, I'm sure 9 out of 10 will say it's a negative word. You're surrendering your life, you're surrendering your relationship, you're surrendering your, whatever. And this book is very contrary to all that. He talks about, he's a gentleman in his 20s. All of a sudden, he starts hearing a voice. We all are traveling with ourselves. When we are alone, somebody's talking to us. It's that me. And that me is always troubling me. So in his 20s, he finds that there is a voice which is troubling him up. He talks to his brother-in-law. He says, yes, there's a voice in me. That's troubling me. So what he does is, he's troubled. Somebody gives him a book. So there's a book which somebody gives him, and that book is called The Three Pillars of Zen. Now he reads this book. He's a scholar. He's an economics gentleman. Goes deeper into this book, leaves everything, now starts traveling, starts meditating. And he's always just trying hard to shut the voice inside. That's his struggle. And that struggle is one which he's trying to and he's saying, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to, be in my van. I'm just going to do meditation, just going to eat something bit, and I'm just going to do that. That's his life. And all of a sudden he gets a call from his professor. He says, where are you? He says, I'm in Mexico. He says, there's a gentleman who needs to be coached, and I've selected you. The voice inside of him says, no, don't do that. But he surrenders. And he surrenders, and what happens is, next 6 months, he's coaching him up. Not just coaching him up, the gentleman pursues him to kind of continue studying. He puts his papers. In 4 days or 5 days of his presentation, he gets his top marks. Now he says, there is something which I was supposed to do. I surrendered. And he was then called up to lead a class. He's finding it good fun. He's saying, okay, I didn't hear me. I'm here. It's so far so good. But still that voice is troubling him. Another friend gives him this beautiful book called The Autobiography of a Yogi. And he gets all his answers there. That's what he claims. That I got all my answers in this book. When I, as an Indian, read this, I was very happy. I said, wow, this is a book lying in my washroom for me to kind of, there's a shelf there which you always pick up a book and it's there. So that was this, so he reads this book. Life had more plans for him. So life doesn't stop here. He doesn't become just a, kind of a teacher. He goes on, and he now has spiritual leaders visiting India, staying with him in this place called Florida. And somebody comes to him and says, you'll create a temple here. He laughs. He says, that's funny. It can never happen. 6 months down the line, there is a temple there. The temple is so beautifully built by him. A sheriff comes and says, can you make such a thing for myself? That leads to him entering into a construction business. Can you just imagine? He was a gentleman who was into teaching. Now he's into construction. One fine day, walks into a store, finds a beautiful computer. He picks it up, starts coding, Starts loving it. Sometimes down the line, he creates a beautiful program. Somebody knows it. Somebody approaches him and says, can you make a medical program, somebody which connects the doctors? And one fine day, he starts an IT company. And all the while, it's somebody who's approaching. And what the book talks about is, he now listening to life, the nudges of the life, not to his own inner voice. The inner voice had all the prejudice. The inner voice had all the no's and yes and all his choices, which he was now saying, I'm not going to heed to them. The synchronicity of the life was taking him to the places which he had never thought of. The book is a 40 years of his story. Not 5 years, not 10 years. It's a 40 years of his memoir, where he talks about how from somebody who was not a reluctant teacher to somebody who creates a construction business to somebody who now goes into an IT company, which basically gets sold for not billions, 3 billion. And it's acquired through the story is all about lots of twists and turns. And the author just wants to leave you with this thought that there is something which life is planned. As long as we agree to that plan, as long as we are ready to surrender. And this surrender is very spiritual. This surrender is very powerful. It's not that mundane. It's a surrender which you need to discover and you need to be ready to embrace. So that's the book about the surrender experiment. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna end with a poetry. Read a poem called Talash. It's a poem which I wrote. I think I was just selecting what should I do. So it's called Talash. It's तलाश. जिंदगी की तलाश में मैं भी और तुम भी, हम दोनों एक जैसे ही हैं. कहानी थोड़ी अलग हो सकती है. इस तलाश में मैं थोड़ा आगे या तुम थोड़ा आगे, बस इतना सा ही फर्क है. मुझे कभी अपने आप से अलग मत समझना. हाँ, थोड़ा ज्यादा मुस्कुराता हूं मैं, तुम थोड़ा खामोश हो, थोड़ा गंभीर, पर यह मत सोचना मैं तुम्हारे जैसा नहीं. जिंदगी की तलाश में मैं भी और तुम भी. तलाश. थैंक यू सो मच.